You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Hello, welcome to Japan Eats. I'm your host Akiko Katayama, food writer and the director of the New York Japanese Culinary Academy, which promotes a deep understanding of Japanese cuisine in America. We are broadcasting live from Brooklyn, New York. This show is all about Japanese food and food culture. We see sushi at every daily supermarket, but what is beyond sushi? We hear dashi ramen izakaya, but what exactly are they? Japanese food is still a mystery for many people, and I try to demystify it in this program with my good guests. My guest today is Ririko Tatsumi, who is the founder of Ann based in New York. Ann is truly a unique concept. Traditional Japanese sweets are called Wagashi, and one of Wagashi's key ingredients is Ann or Anko, a bean paste made with different kinds of beans from red and white to green. Not just colors, their flavors are diverse, and it is fun to discover how simple beans can create rich flavors in Japanese sweets. And that is why Ririko decided to introduce the charm of Ann to a global audience in a modern American context. So today we'll discuss what Ann is, what types of Ann you can enjoy, how traditional Ann can be created in the context of global sweet recipes, and much, much more. But before we start, Japan Eats is available on the Heritage Radio Network website, as well as on the iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify as a podcast. So please go to iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, whichever you listen to, and subscribe to Japan Eats. Please write a review. We'd really appreciate your feedback. Now let's start a conversation with Ririko Tatsumi. Hello, Ririko. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Hi.
So what you're doing is very exciting. The first time I got to know, I was very excited. So first, to get to know you, where are you from and what did you eat when you grew up?
So I was born and raised in Hyogo, Japan. Spent a lot of time in Osaka, Nara, and Kyoto, mainly in Kansai area during teenager. And I've grown up with my mother's home-cooked meals. Like, she runs a cooking studio and has been like teaching baking and cooking classes for years. So like she always brings some like home baked goods from her classes. That's what I've eaten. Yeah.
Wow, that makes sense. That's what you're doing is what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, and when and why did you come to New York?
In 2021, I started my master's degree at Parsons. I had many reasons why I came back to New York, but I always felt it would happen kind of naturally since I was young. So like New York City is kind of a place that resonates with me. And starting a business here has always been my dream. So I've always felt inspired by the energy, creativity, and people of New York City.
Well, you likely said Parsons, but you studied something creative stuff, right? At the best school, Parsons. What did you study?
I've studied strategic design and management, and which kind of focusing on the sustainability and like businesses like around some social issues and and I wanted to combine my kind of background in design, also the business, to create a new value and in the future. So
Well, I understand in Japan you worked in corporations in art, like art agency and major projects, right? Yes. Tell us about it more.
Yeah, so before I started on, like I was an art director and advertising agency, also consulting company in New York and Japan. I've been doing like helping the clients' businesses through the designs and having experienced in diverse industries.
Interesting. Right. And then you started your own business, which is spelled ANNN, which is cute. And I think visually very design driven. So that was in April 2024, this year, April. So it's a confectionery brand specializing in artisanal white bean paste sweets crafted from sustainably sourced ingredients and inspired by Japanese tradition, according to your business statement. So first of all, why did you name your company Ann?
So an has a few meanings in Japanese. One is bean paste and another is idea. And I added an extra N to the represent and A&D, kind of symbolizing the expansive collaborative nature I wanted to convey. And An is about kind of like blending, expanding ideas such as flavor, texture, people, culture, or place, and all about creativity.
Interesting. And I think it's a simple name, there's a lot in there, so I like that. So an, or in Japanese also anko, is one of the most commonly used ingredients in traditional Japanese sweets, which is called wagashi. So wagashi is not known enough outside of Japan, but wagashi tends to be not too sweet and is more naturally made in general. And there are many types of an. So could you give us some examples of an?
Yeah, definitely. So there are different types of unique textures and flavor of An. For example, shiroan, which I make, is made of from white beans and has smooth and like mild flavor. And you can blend different flavors in it too. And another kind is tsubuan. It's more like a chunkier and provides a bit more texture. It's made of like azuki, red bean, and sometimes other type of beans like ugurisu or zunda. Zunda is edamame, by the way. And then another major kind is koshian, which is the version with the skin removed and has a much smoother like flavors and the texture of the bean paste. Yeah.
Right. So that's the texture is a very important thing. And even from the same kind of bean, you can have dramatically different taste experience. And whoever went to Japan, or you can find somewhere in big cities like New York, you can have ampan. It's a Western style bread stuffed with red bean paste, and it can be two styles, koshian or tsubuan. So if you have a chunky one, you get a tsubuan, and that flavor combination can be heavenly. So yeah, it's interesting that you pointed out the texture, and also I think I like the what's called the guisan. It's a very light green, and it's made out of green peas. And I really like that flavor and the texture. And it's like an is just one simple concept, but there's so many different kinds. So, and it's regionally different too. Like in the northern part of Japan, it's a zunda. That's kind of different kind of anko that's based on edamame beans. And also you can have an made with potato and chestnut and all those other kind of things. So an is something totally overlooked in Western countries in terms of as an ingredient of sweets. Yeah. So could you give me some examples of traditional Japanese sweets made with an?
Yeah. So the traditional, like you mentioned earlier, like traditional Japanese confections are called wagashi, and many varieties are made with an. And some of the famous ones are nerikiri, dorayaki, or manju, and etc. And then I make sweets like nerikiri, like it's made with the mochi rice powdered with mixed with the white bean paste and then shaped into kind of conceptual, like representing the seasonal ideas and like some shapes of like a river or like the like forest or this like sceneries of the Japanese, seasonal nice pictures. And I also make different like sandwiches made with and it can be very diverse, like depending on the concepts or the situations.
Right. So, listeners, if you haven't heard of nerikiri, nerikiri is one of those most colorful, almost like piece of art kind of Japanese sweets. And if you go to a specialty shop on Japanese sweets or basement, depachika department store, the food court, you can definitely have eye-catching nerikiri and other Japanese wagashi. So yeah, I
Mhm.
love that too. And what's your favorite wagashi with made with personally?
I can't choose one, but since I was young, I was the type of kid always choosing the like wagashi over Western sweets, honestly. So like I've loved nerikiri, warabi mochi, or like manju, and like yeah. And right now, like I make nerikiri for the businesses too, and then nerikiri is such nice texture, very smooth, and has different varieties. For now, my favorite is nirikiri, I would say.
Right. I can't decide in my case. Like sometimes daifuku, it's like a mochi stuff is red meat paste, and I like put a lot of butter on it, and it's like crazy decadent combination of sweetness and fat and deep rich flavor of red bean paste. So yeah. Anyway, so well, we'll take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll discuss the unique products Ririko makes from the scratch by hand. So please stay with us.
Today's program is brought to you by Korin, a supplier of Japanese chef knives and restaurant supplies. Korin is proud of their Japanese culture and traditions, but they want you to know that their products are not just for Japanese restaurants. Their knives and tableware bring out the best qualities of food from every culture and fit into every restaurant from French to Pan-Asian to American. And that is why they're located in New York City, where people from every country in the world come to eat. Korin's Tribeca showroom is home to the most extensive collection of Japanese chef knives in the world, including Japan. Stop by to view their exquisitely designed tableware and the rarest natural sharpening stones. They have a whole range of knife services from repair and rust removal to reshaping and realigning. Korin is dedicated to this ideal, bringing the highest quality Japanese design to your table so you can experience the unparalleled quality of Japanese craftsmanship in your home or restaurant. For more information, visit Korin.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to Japan Eats on HRN, Heritage Radio Network. I'm your host, Katayama. My guest today is Ririko Tatsumi, who is the founder of Ann based in New York. She introduces the charm of Ann, an essential ingredient of traditional Japanese foods in the modern American context. So why did you decide to offer Ann products here in New York?
I've had this idea since my early 20s, I think, to create a Japanese bun for breakfast or snacks. And my mom's baking influenced me a lot, you know. And then, but like when I actually started prototyping from scratch, like I realized the ingredients from white bean paste are mostly produced in the US. So this kind of made me recognize like, oh, this has a huge potential for marketing unique and fresh bean paste in the US. And of course, New York City is the perfect place to start out for, collaborative food culture.
And your products are entirely handcrafted. So how do you do that? Like, it must be really hard to produce everything from scratch. And I understand now your mother had a huge influence over what do you do. So how do you entirely handcraft your products?
I started prototyping a lot of different kinds of beans to make a bean paste, and then while I was like hunting the entire process by hands, like peeling the skin of the beans, steaming, washing, mashing, and boiling, etc., and then some beans has flavors already. So like, how can you balance the, sweetness with the different kinds of beans? And I measure the sweetness and like trying to see the process like better and better, like, and then constantly inspired by the people's ideas, like new foods pairing or flavors. And then I continuously update the recipes to make them better too. Once I modify the production processes and then prototype it, the better texture, and then for people to get their feedback at the pop-up events or like the clients at the restaurants, then, I try to like produce better products like day by day.
Right. Sounds like it's a design project too. Right.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
right. Interesting. And also your ingredients are all sustainably sourced. So how challenging is it to find quality sustainable ingredients locally here in New York?
I started searching and tested many types of beans, as I mentioned earlier. Then it was kind of challenging to find the perfect flavor by measuring like all these informations, like through the cooking processes, which I combined traditional and modern techniques. And I also like now continue to like find the local collaborations with farms from New York City and then blend the new flavors. So yeah, I source the ingredients from the US, like not from the New York City only, but also find the flavors like matching with the local producers based in New York.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Japanese food in general tend to be more regionalized because you use everything available and in that area. So I think you're doing the right thing, like traditional Japanese wagashi making, because you're using something very New York. Yeah, I can't wait to see how you're going to develop something uniquely New York. Yeah, and so for your business, why do you focus on white bean paste?
So the white lima beans I use for on is produced large quantities in US. So I wanted to source everything domestically while staying true to kind of Japanese food culture and take it to the next level with the flavors or textures, etc. And my focus is on creating and offering the products of very like unique and the better quality and produced locally and eventually expanding their global reach, like awareness with the cultural collaborations.
Right. Yeah, I think it's easier also color-wise because it's a white. You can combine other colors and also the flavor-wise, right? It's more less intense than compared to red beans, right?
Exactly.
So what kind of white bean paste products do you offer?
Right now, I offer wholesale only of white bean paste called shiruan and some flavor on which I mix with the fresh fruits like lemon, kiwi, cranberry, cherry, and sometimes pistachio or different nuts.
Well, sounds great. Yeah, and colorful too. Right. And I heard you had an event like made some the bean paste cookies and something very approachable too, right?
Cookies, I wanted to express like, okay, let's say the white bean paste more like a roll-on, like on dough, but I wanted to make a baked on version. That's why I made the recipe for the on cookies. I started like testing the products in the events and the people kind of love the texture. So yeah, I keep trying the different flavors of the on cookies, such as espresso version and something else in the future. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it sounds also very healthy and satisfying because it's the beans have more protein than tend to be more other carbs and other ingredients. So yeah. So you offer uniquely flavored white bean paste, currently only to wholesales, but each flavor has a pairing suggestion. That's what I heard. So could you tell us about the pairings?
Absolutely. So these flavors pair up very well with the mild texture and like that kind of like has a unique bean paste like taste. So like it's melting like nicely in your mouth. So I would say like every kinds of flavors can be pairing it with like a cream cheese on the bread or like croissant or like with sake or wine, and even with mochi and ice cream. So honestly, like you could pair with bunch of different options.
Yeah, I saw. I happened to find a little list, and well, the lemon flavored bean paste can go well. They use something like yuzu peel, and this was amazing, and like pistachio with hard bread, and then cherry flavored bean paste with bread and wine. That could be a great snack for a party or something like that. Yeah. So, but you've never been to culinary school, although your mom was probably a culinary school teacher. But how did you develop your skills in making such delicate products like gun? I mean, by trial and error, or what's the process?
My mother taught cooking and baking skills since I was very young, and I was also kind of curious about ingredients and food culture all my life. So it's all about combining like the experiences as eating and cooking of try and errors. Yeah.
Right. And on the other hand, you have a strong background in design. So how does your creative mind help your business now?
So before on, I worked as an art director, like for in advertising industry. So like I completely switched to what I always wanted to do, which is on. So I see some similarities between design and cooking, like layering textures and flavors, as well as considering customer experience and branding. I usually design all materials and creatives for the on brand, and kind of my entire career has been helping me to shape how I can expand value through visuals and and communicate more effectively with clients. So I try to keep reminding my kind of self the previous experience to expand the business and the values to the customers like better and better. Yeah.
Right. I think in general, in the past, they're Japanese great craftsmen, but Japanese people in tradition, you don't want to advertise or appeal because doesn't sound like modest. But the mindset has to be changed, and you have the great skill set to introduce something pretty novel to the new audience. So I think looking at your website, ANNN.life, really like beautifully done, and I can't wait to see where you are going. So yeah, so where can we find your products?
So you can find bean paste sweets at a few restaurants and bars in New York City, such as Towa, Odo, Midnight Blue, and Sorate, the tea house in Soho. So I also do a pop-up event regularly too.
I think these are great outlets, restaurants. And how do you suggest for, say, for example, if our listeners are pastry chef or chef, how do you suggest to utilize your bean paste?
So it's all about your creativity to use the ingredients, right? So I can recommend some of the Japanese ways or even based on what you have. And then I always recommend, for example, if someone bakes like a croissant, like, oh, what about this flavor is too much with your like own like texture, like onto your buns, like you could create like a different texture inside or like outside. It can be crispy, it's conversation based. So when people are curious about the bean paste, I always like suggest, oh, I can bring some samples, or you can go eat at this event, and I want you guys to try first and then see what are the potentials available to your culinary creativity, or even what you want to pair with your drink or something like that, you know.
Right. So you said a croissant. So what would you be your favorite recommendation with that croissant?
My best favorite was croissant is kiwi bean paste.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
many people like how kiwi turns like mild, like nicely sour within the bean paste. So like the perception, you can change your perceptions. Like when you eat like such the kiwi on has very unique texture and like nice sourness to it. So croissant has a nice buttery, crispy texture too. So it can like matches best with the like sour and like kind of lightly flavors and like the mild texture too.
Right. So what was the craziest thing you have seen as how to use the white bean paste in the past? Like crazy creative or something like mind blowing?
I was very goosebumped and inspired by the idea from Takuma-san, like who is the bartender at Martini's in Midnight Blue, and he uses the white bean paste to the cocktail. And then there's a cocktail called French number 0 or something. Sorry. And then like he used the white bean paste mixed with the lemon zest and lemon juice, and then made the kind of sorbet style, and then put the champagne on it. You can do like no alcohol mocktail and also the alcohol versions too. So it was really kind of game changer for me, realizing how big potential the white bean paste has, like in the drink side.
Wow, that's a totally mind blowing. And yeah, goosebumps. Yeah, and then also I think, people may think bean paste, but like if you like hummus, for example, that's bean paste too, in a way. So the texture and the flavor can be very flexible, and also it really creates deep, rich flavors. So, what are your plans and dreams?
Well, my plans is to continue offering the better, unique products that align with the local food culture and needs in, customers' needs in New York City. And I also want to start providing consumer-facing products so that people can enjoy more bean-based products at home or outdoors,
Yep, that's what I'm looking forward to hearing. Yeah, hopefully soon. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's so much you can do, and Wagashi industry has been offering a lot of bean-based products. It's been for centuries, so I think you're doing something very exciting. And also,
Thank you.
I don't know if the health statement is appropriate, but I think beans are very rich in protein and you can control the amount of sugar and then you can be very creative with this. So, yeah, I think you're providing great ingredients as well. So you can do final products hopefully in the near future for us. Yeah, that's great. So, where can we find your updates online and on social media?
Mainly on Instagram or website, and I do pop-up events regularly, and then that information goes always on the Instagram. And additionally, like the previous question, like I have a dream of like opening another bean paste factory in Europe in a few years. So
Hmm.
finger crossed.
Wow. What location, which country are you thinking of?
It's still like work in progress. Like my idea is messy, but somewhere around North Europe.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
Northern Europe and the Scandinavian countries, probably they are
Yeah.
crazy about sweets. So that sounds amazing.
Yeah. And sustainability too. So
Right. Well,
yeah.
keep me posted and you can come back when your plans are forming up. You can discuss again. Okay, so your Instagram is Ann, ANNN, 3N, dot NYC. And the website again, www.annn.life. So, yeah, good luck. And yeah, look forward to tasting your products sometime in the near future.
Thank you so much. Ann is all vegan products and it's very nutritious and good for the children's sweets. So please come try the samples or anytime at the pop-up event and then reach out to me on the Instagram, on the website. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. The
Hey,
great
great.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, so again, it's the Instagram, ANNN.NYC. All right, so good luck. And for listeners, if you have any questions or comments about the show or suggestions for show topics or guests, please contact us at japaneats@heritageradionetwork.org or at katema.com. Japan Needs is a weekly program and is always available at heritageradionetwork.org, as well as on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify as a podcast. Our engineer is Gabe Jean. Thanks for listening. I will see you next week.